Amen Thompson certainly introduced himself to a whole lot of new people with the way he played out there. Game 7, especially, he was everywhere, Chandler. I'm wondering where on that team, how vital did he prove himself to be for Houston?
Huge. And by the way, I think both of him and his brother in Detroit
For
kind of
real.
solidified themselves as household names. We knew that had their elite athleticism. We knew that they could defend. They both do all those little things, and they have so much work to do on the offensive end, but they still find ways to score. They move without the ball. They cut. They get out in transition. These are two of the most athletic kids in the league that I would love to see in the dunk contest, just off sheer hops and bounce. Like, they can do a little bit of everything. When they do start developing a little slower pace game, a little better handle, and obviously, kind of get their 3-point shooting and their outside shooting, more dialed in. The sky's the limit for both of these dudes. But man, he's a bright spot. You can see he can guard 1 through 4. He's got size. He takes on the challenge of guarding a legend like Steph Curry and kind of making it difficult for him all season, all series long. He's tough. These kids both have a bright future and kind of solidified, themselves as, definitely starting caliber players and star level franchise pieces moving forward.
Yep. And think about this. If this goes Houston's way, we're talking about him the same way we're talking about Buddy Hield. Like, he's not Sengun, he's not Van Fleet, he's not Green. He's one of the other guys, one of the young up-and-coming stars on that team, but he would be considered the unlikely story coming out of this series and coming out of this 7 games the way that he played. Like, every game he brought it on the defensive end, on the offensive end. He just made his presence notable. He made him being an impactful player. He put it on a major platform, like Chandler just said. So moving forward, he's going to be the focal point. Sometimes when you're young like this, you can sneak up on teams. You can have impactful games like this. Now he's on the scouting report. Now he's one of the guys that's going to be talked about. So I'm interested to see what adjustments that he make in the summer to come back even bigger and better and stronger for the Houston Rockets as he was in this playoff series.
He had one drive in the second half, just all him by himself, that just made you sit upright on your couch. Like, it was insane. It was highlight video stuff. We got to talk a little Jalen Green here, because we know he had the one game, the 38-point game, where everybody thought, okay, this is the Jalen Green we want to see. Unfortunately, though, for the series, that was kind of it out of Jalen Green, Lou. I'm wondering, how do you assess him? Is he movable? Would you even consider it if you're Houston?
I've heard the talks. I've heard the talks about them moving him. Only way you consider moving a guy like Jalen Green is if you have a real chance at going to get a Ja Morant or Kevin Durant or one of these guys that are obvious franchise changers. Other than that, you stay put. You hold your cards where you are. You have a nice young nucleus. Granted, he did struggle in these playoffs, but it was his first introduction. Imagine if the Lakers turned their backs on Kobe when he played how he played against the Utah Jazz when he was such a young player. Like, no, you go out there, you have your experiences, you have your ups and downs, you wipe yourself off, and you go in the summer and you make adjustments how you can be a better basketball player. In this series, I think he learned that it's other ways to impact the game. Like, you can't just be a one-trick pony. You go out there and you can't score the basketball, then what? Are you not going to guard? Are you not going to make plays? Are you not going to have any presence? Those are things that he can adjust to. It's not a lot of Jalen Greens just laying around anyways that you can just up and move these guys, and so I think that's the part of our league that we got to get better at. We're so impatient when we see these guys have struggles that we just, boom, we're ready to move on from them. No, like, allow him to grow, allow him to learn and improve his game. Like he did. He struggled on a big time level this series with not being able to score the basketball, and he let that become a determining factor of how he was going to go out and impact the winning. Now that he has that experience, I'm sure that he'll go back. He'll be a better player next year. Him, Sengun, Amen Thompson, like we just mentioned, Eason, Jabari Smith. That is a nice nucleus of young talent that you can build around. You don't bust that up because a guy struggled in the playoffs so early in his career.
Yeah, I agree with Lou. This isn't like a panic move for the Rockets. This is a young team that outkicked their coverage, exceeded all expectations. They were the 2 seed. They're so young. They have a stud coach in Udoka. And it would be extremely premature, I think, for them to be like, you know what, let's just go and trade Jalen Green after one bad series. It was tough. It was inefficient. Outside that 38-point game where he was 8 of 14 from the three, he really struggled. He got a 7-point game, an 8-point game, a 9-point game, and like an 11 to 12 piece, which was just inefficient and it wasn't great. But like Lou made a good point. Thompson finds ways to stay on the floor even without his jump shot falling, because he doesn't take many jump shots because his shot isn't there yet. Jalen Green's got to find other ways to be effective. He's got to find other ways to be productive for his team when his shot's not falling, when he's not just this high volume, bad shot taking scorer. Now, if I'm another team and I know I'm looking at the Houston Rockets as one of these teams with all the assets, Jalen Green's probably the guy I want. If I'm Phoenix, which I know for a fact they will shop Kevin Durant, they will most likely move Kevin Durant this offseason. If I'm taking my talents to Houston, I want Jalen Green in return. And yeah, I'm probably going to get a Jabari Smith and I'm going to throw in some other guys, but he would be the centerpiece in one of those big time deals for a Giannis, a John Morant, a Kevin Durant. So he is that good. He is that talented. And again, I think he's going to be a better basketball player from this series. I think he's going to come back and be more effective. I think he's going to come back and find more ways to impact winning than just scoring the basketball. Because yes, he's extremely talented offensively, but he can offer so much more than just putting the ball in the basket. So it was tough. It was inefficient. Again, they lost to the Warriors in 7 games without him having his best series. So they're in a solid spot, but I definitely think he is going to be in that kind of conversation if they're going to move and try and go for a huge star player.
That's the thing, is if they are going to make a move, right? Obviously, you're going to have to move some pieces. They had 41 wins last year. They had the 52 this year. We know, obviously, they were the 2 spot. The Fred VanVleet of it all, I think he's got a player option for like 45 mil. Chandler, what do you do? What do you think they should do? I know you mentioned, you rattled off some names, but reality-wise,
I gotta fix this audio. Like, I don't think that's me, but that is.
It's probably you, is what we're trying to figure out.
Again, I don't panic. We have the pieces, we have the foundation, we have all this talent, we have all these assets. So yeah, if we want to listen, let's listen. We have all these players that teams are going to want, and we have a strong foundation. VanVleet came up huge towards in the middle of that series with his shot making. Sengun's proven that he's one of the top 3, top 5 centers in the NBA. And you're surrounded with all this raw young talent that is going to continue to get better. So again, I think they can add. I think they do entertain the idea of adding like a Kevin Durant, which just depends on how much they're going to give up, which we see star players like that have been, it takes a haul to get them. But I do think Kevin Durant should be a main name that they go at, because you pair him with a Fred, with a Sengun, and you keep 1 or 2 of these other assets. And now I think we're talking real championship expectations. So I think they're fine if they just stay put. Again, they were the 2 seed, just took the Warriors to 7 games. This isn't like a panic situation, but I do think they're kind of in that situation where they can make a big splash, kind of go get one of these main guys in the summer.
Yeah,
they're in a good spot.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you, Chandler. Like, stay put, but by all means, answer the phone. Listen to everything that people got to say. Listen to everything that teams have to say and what they're willing to offer. And that puts you in a position to go from a 40-win team to a 50-win team to possibly a 60. Then you have to entertain these things. But other than that, I feel like I have all the talent and all of the resources right here in my building. I do not panic. I don't overreact. Some guys could have played better, but they're still young guys, still so much basketball ahead of them in their young careers. You don't give up on those guys and turn your back if you feel like you're primed to compete at a high level. And I think the Houston Rockets are willing to do so in the position that they're in. So I don't panic. I don't push all my cards to the middle of the table. I listen to conversations, but I stay put where I am. I agree with you, Chandler.
Not a lot of rest for Golden State, Lou. They start things off conference semis tomorrow against the Timberwolves. They won 3 of the 4 that they played during the season. However, those were all pre-January 15th. So, things have changed a bit. Who you favoring today?